chosen one. Why are you still awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, feeling like something is missing from your life? Why does every prayer feel like it's hitting a concrete wall? Why do you feel forgotten by the very God you've served faithfully for decades? If you're hearing this right now, stop everything, put down that remote, close that other tab. Heaven just pressed pause on the entire universe to bring you to this exact moment. This isn't coincidence. This isn't algorithm. This is divine intervention. God says this cannot wait. Like a fire alarm piercing through the silence of midnight, this is your wake-up call from eternity itself. The creator of galaxies, the ancient of days, the one who knows the number of hairs on your head, he's been trying to get your attention. And right now, in this sacred moment suspended between heaven and earth, he's saying, enough. My chosen one has waited long enough. You thought you were just scrolling through videos, but God orchestrated this divine appointment. You thought this was just another sleepless night, but heaven calls it your breakthrough night. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. You've been living beneath your spiritual inheritance. You've been accepting crumbs when you were born for the feast. You've been whispering when you were created to roar. The enemy has convinced you that your best days are behind you, that at your age, God's finished with you, that your season of significance has passed. But I'm here to shatter that lie with the hammer of God's truth. Before we go one word further, I need to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and plant that seed of faith. But right now, this moment, if you feel this word already tugging at your heart like a divine magnet pulling your spirit home, if something deep inside you is saying, this is for me, don't just sit there. Drop a comment. I am chosen. Let the heavens know you're listening. Let the angels take notice. Let hell tremble, because another sleeping giant just woke up. Your divine appointment starts now. How many friends have you buried this year? How many doctor visits have ended with words you didn't want to hear? How many nights have you sat in that empty house, staring at old photographs, wondering where everyone went? Dear chosen one, I see you there. I see you in that chair where your spouse used to sit. I see you counting pills instead of blessings. I see you checking your bank account with trembling hands, wondering if this social security check will stretch another month. I see you watching your children build lives that somehow don't have room for you anymore. You've walked through valleys that would break lesser souls. You've buried parents, spouses, friends who promised they'd grow old with you. You've watched your body betray you, joint by joint, memory by memory. You've seen your savings evaporate, your relevance questioned, your voice dismissed as outdated wisdom in a world that worships youth. But tonight, I need you to see something different. Job understood your pain when he cried out in Job 14:1, "Man born of woman is of few days and full of trouble." You've lived those troubled days, haven't you? You've felt the weight of every single one of those years pressing down on your chest like stones. You remember being 30, 40, 50 years old, believing your best chapters were still ahead. You had dreams then, plans, energy, hope, but somewhere between the mortgage payments and the funeral homes, between the pink slips and the prescription bottles, those dreams got buried under an avalanche of reality. Here's what the world won't tell you about pain. It's not random. Every tear you've shed in the dark, every prayer that felt like it bounced off heaven's ceiling, every moment you wondered if God had forgotten your address, none of it was wasted. You thought those silent nights of weeping were evidence of abandonment. You believed those unanswered prayers meant God had moved on to younger, more useful servants. You convinced yourself that your season of significance had passed with your youth, but you were wrong. Listen to me carefully, precious soul. You haven't been forgotten. You've been planted. Like a seed buried deep in dark soil, You've been positioned for something the surface world cannot see. Every shovel of dirt, every betrayal, every loss, every disappointment wasn't meant to bury you. It was meant to cover you until your appointed time of breaking through. The psalmist knew this secret when he wrote in Psalm 30:5, "Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning." Your weeping wasn't meaningless. It was watering the ground for your harvest. Think about a master goldsmith working precious metal. What does he do? He doesn't polish it gently with soft cloth. He throws it into the hottest fire he can create. He watches it melt. He sees it lose its shape, its form, everything that made it recognizable. The untrained eye would call it destruction. But the goldsmith knows better. He's not destroying the gold, he's purifying it. Every financial crisis that should have broken you was fire removing impurities. Every health scare that terrorized you was heat burning away what wasn't essential. Every relationship that ended in betrayal was God extracting the dross, so only pure gold remained. You've been in the refiner's fire for decades, dear one, and you're still here, still breathing, still believing, even when belief felt like holding water in cupped hands. That's not accident, that's miracle. Malachi 3:3 tells us, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver." God hasn't stepped away from the furnace. He's been sitting right there, watching the temperature, controlling the flame, waiting for the moment when he can see his reflection in your purified spirit. But here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize how you see your past. You thought the pain was punishment. It was preparation. Every sleepless night you've endured built supernatural endurance. Every betrayal you survived developed spiritual discernment. Every financial valley you walked through taught you to depend on heaven's provision rather than earth's promises. Every tear you've cried in secret has been stored in God's bottle, according to Psalm 56:8, waiting to be transformed into rivers of living water. The enemy convinced you that your scars were signs of failure, but God calls them credentials. The world sees your wrinkles as evidence of decline, but heaven sees them as marks of wisdom earned through fire. Your grey hair isn't a sign of ending, it's a crown of glory, according to Proverbs 16:31, worn by those who've walked the hard path and emerged victorious. You've been shaped by circumstances that would have destroyed ordinary people, but you're not ordinary. You never were. You were chosen before the foundation of the world to carry something this generation desperately needs. The authority that only comes from authentic suffering transformed into authentic faith. Right now, as these words penetrate the wounded places of your heart, something ancient is stirring. The seed that's been buried in the dark soil of your trials is beginning to crack open. The gold that's been refined in the fire of your circumstances is ready to shine. The preparation phase is ending. What you're about to discover next will shatter every lie you've believed about your purpose, your value, and your future. You know what breaks my heart? It's when I hear people say, "God doesn't do miracles like that anymore." They've convinced themselves that the God who moved mountains for Moses is somehow powerless in Manhattan, that the same Almighty who elevated Joseph from a prison cell to Pharaoh's palace can't elevate you from your struggles to your destiny. But chosen one, let me take you back to the sacred pages where ordinary people faced impossible situations, where crushing despair transformed into unstoppable destiny. Because what God did for them, He's about to do for you. Picture this: a 17-year-old boy named Joseph, thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold like cattle at a slave market. Can you imagine? Your own flesh and blood, the people who should protect you, betraying you for 20 pieces of silver. That's where Joseph's story began, in the darkness of betrayal. But the pit wasn't his grave, it was his launching pad. From that pit, he was dragged to Potiphar's house, from faithful service to false accusations, from prison walls to forgotten dreams. For 13 years, Joseph watched the sun rise and set through iron bars, wondering if God had forgotten his name. 13 years of, what if I die here? What if my dreams were just delusions? Here's what Joseph didn't know while he was rotting in that Egyptian dungeon. God was positioning him for promotion. Every injustice was building his character. Every betrayal was deepening his wisdom. Every tear he cried in secret was watering the ground of his future palace. When Pharaoh's dreams terrorized the most powerful man in the ancient world, who did God choose to interpret them? Not the magicians, not the wise men, Joseph. The forgotten prisoner became the second most powerful man in Egypt overnight. But wait, there's more. Think about Queen Esther, trembling behind palace walls while her people faced genocide. "If I go before the king uninvited, I could die," she whispered. Fear gripped her throat like a vice. The easy choice was silence. The safe choice was invisibility. But then came Mordecai's words that shattered her comfort. "Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" For such a time as this. Those 6 words changed history. Esther chose courage over comfort. She chose her calling over her safety. "If I perish, she declared. And in that moment of surrender, she saved an entire nation from extinction. Are you starting to see the pattern? Are you beginning to understand why your darkest moments might actually be your defining moments? Let me show you David, a forgotten shepherd boy, so insignificant his own father didn't invite him to meet the prophet Samuel. While his brothers stood tall and impressive, David was in the fields with sheep, dreaming impossible dreams. But when Goliath roared his threats across the valley, when trained soldiers trembled in their armor, who stepped forward? The boy with 5 smooth stones and unshakable faith. "You come against me with sword and spear," David declared, "but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." One stone, one giant, one moment that changed everything. From shepherd to giant slayer to king. That's what happens when ordinary people say yes to an extraordinary God. But Moses breaks every excuse you've ever made about being too old, too damaged, too disqualified. Picture this, an 80-year-old man herding sheep in the desert, thinking his life was over. He'd blown his chance 40 years earlier when he murdered an Egyptian. He was a fugitive, a failure, a has-been wandering in the wilderness. Then God showed up in a burning bush that wouldn't burn up. "I have seen the misery of my people," God said. "I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses tried every excuse in the book. "I'm not qualified. I can't speak well. They won't believe me." But God wasn't asking for perfection. He was asking for availability. At 80 years old, Moses began the greatest adventure of his life. He stood before the most powerful ruler on earth and demanded freedom for 2 million slaves. He lifted his staff, and the Red Sea split down the middle like a divine zipper. What's your excuse now? What giant is standing in your way? What sea needs to part in your life? Here's the shocking truth that will shatter every limitation you've accepted. Every single one of these heroes started in a place darker than where you are right now. Joseph in a pit, Esther facing genocide, David forgotten and overlooked, Moses a murderer in exile. But God took their worst moments and turned them into their greatest victories. The pit prepared Joseph for the palace. Fear prepared Esther for courage. Rejection prepared David for royalty. Failure prepared Moses for freedom. Your preparation is complete, chosen one. Your pit time is over. Your moment has arrived. If he lifted Joseph from a dungeon to a throne, he will elevate you. If he gave Esther courage to save a nation, he will give you boldness for your battle. If he made David a king after rejection, he will crown you with favor. If he used Moses at 80 to deliver millions, he's not done with you at your age. The same God who worked miracles for them is working miracles for you right now. Your breakthrough isn't coming. It's here. Type "Now is my time" if you believe your waiting is turning into a breakthrough. Let heaven know you're ready to step out of your pit and into your palace. But here's what you need to understand about the season you're entering. Dear chosen one, I need to ask you something that's going to cut deep into your soul tonight. How many times have you looked in the mirror and whispered, "God, am I too old for you to use me now?" How many nights have you laid awake wondering if your best years are behind you, if your calling expired with your youth? The world has been lying to you. Society has programmed you to believe that at 65, 70, 80 years old, you should be winding down, stepping aside, making room for the younger generation. They've convinced you that your grey hair is a sign of decline, that your slower steps mean your race is over, that your season of significance has passed. But I'm here tonight to demolish that deception with the sledgehammer of Scripture. Moses was 80 years old when God called him to deliver an entire nation from bondage. 80. The world would have put him in a nursing home, but God put a staff in his hand and said, "Now we begin the greatest chapter of your life." For 40 years, Moses led Israel through the wilderness, split seas, and spoke face to face with the Almighty. His greatest victories didn't come at 30, they came at 80. Sarah was 90 when she conceived Isaac. 90 years old, her womb was dead, her hope was buried, but God breathed life into what everyone called impossible. Genesis 21:6 records her laughter, not the bitter laughter of mockery, but the explosive joy of someone who discovered that God's promises don't have expiration dates. Abraham was 75 when God told him to leave everything and start fresh in a foreign land. The world would have called it foolish, but Abraham became the father of nations. At 100 years old, he was still receiving promises from heaven. His faith didn't weaken with age, it strengthened. You think you're too broken? David was an adulterer and a murderer, yet God called him a man after his own heart. You think your past disqualifies you? Paul was a terrorist who hunted Christians, but God transformed him into the greatest apostle who ever lived. Listen to me carefully, beloved. Your grey hair is not a sign of weakness, it's a crown of wisdom earned through decades of walking with God. Proverbs 16:31 declares, "Grey hair is a crown of splendor, it is attained in the way of righteousness." Every silver strand represents a victory, a lesson learned, a storm survived. Your wrinkles aren't marks of decay, they're etchings of experience. Each line tells a story of God's faithfulness. Your slower pace isn't weakness, it's the measured walk of someone who knows where they're going because they've learned to follow the shepherd's voice. Those scars you carry, they're not shame, they're sacred proof that you survived what was meant to destroy you. Every wound tells the world that hell tried to take you out and failed. You're not damaged goods, you're battle-tested gold. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. God isn't finished with you. In fact, He's just getting started. The very things you think disqualify you are the exact qualifications He's been looking for. Your experience, your wisdom, your tested faith, your refined character. You're standing on a bridge right now, chosen one. Behind you lies your past, every mistake, every regret, every moment you felt forgotten. Ahead of you stretches your destiny, God's promises, His purpose, His plan for your golden years that will outshine everything that came before. The enemy wants you to keep looking back, to stay paralyzed by yesterday's failures, but God is calling you forward. Isaiah 43:18, 1:9 thunders from heaven. Forget the former things, do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? You are not the sunset, you are the sunrise of something the world has never seen. You are not the period at the end of your family's sentence, you are the exclamation point that changes everything. Right now, as I speak these words, something is stirring in your spirit. That restlessness you felt, that sense that there's more, that's not nostalgia, that's prophecy. That's your calling awakening from its slumber, stretching its wings, preparing to soar. You thought this was the winter of your life, but God calls it the spring of your purpose. You thought you were in your final act, but heaven calls this your finest hour. The question burning in the throne room of heaven right now is this: will you believe the world's assessment of your worth, or will you accept God's assignment for your future? Because what I'm about to reveal next will prove that everything you've walked through, every tear, every trial, Every moment of seeming silence from heaven has been preparing you for the most important mission of your entire life. Listen to me, chosen one. Heaven is saying, no more delay. The waiting season is over. Do you hear that? That's the sound of eternity's clock striking midnight. Do you feel that trembling in your chest? That's not anxiety, that's divine urgency breaking through 70 years of patient silence. God has been waiting for this moment, and He will not wait another second. You've been sitting in the waiting room of your own destiny for too long, checking your watch, flipping through old magazines of yesterday's dreams, wondering if the doctor will ever call your name. But the great physician just walked through those doors, and He's looking directly at you. How many more sunrises will you watch through the same kitchen window, sipping the same coffee, carrying the same unfulfilled promises in your heart? How many more nights will you lay your head on that pillow, whispering the same prayers you've been praying since 1987? How many more years will you accept that your time has passed when God is declaring your time has come? The enemy has been feeding you the poison of procrastination. He's whispered, next year will be better, when you're more ready, when the timing is perfect. But perfect timing is a myth designed to keep you paralyzed. God's timing doesn't wait for your comfort, it demands your courage. Delay is disobedience. Disobedience is dangerous. When God told Noah to build the ark, Noah didn't say, "Let me check the weather forecast for next month." When God told Abraham to leave his homeland, Abraham didn't say, "Give me 5 years to plan this move." When Jesus called the disciples, they didn't respond, "We'll follow you after fishing season." They moved immediately because they understood something you're learning right now. When heaven speaks, hesitation is rebellion. Look at Esther, a young woman facing impossible odds, her people facing annihilation. Mordecai came to her with words that should be carved into your heart. Perhaps you were born for such a time as this. Not for such a time as last year, not for such a time as next decade. For this time, this moment, this breath you're taking right now. You think you missed your moment because you're 73. Esther saved an entire nation. Moses didn't even start his real ministry until he was 80. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your qualification. Every year you've lived has been preparation for what God is about to do through you. But here's what will terrify you. This window won't stay open forever. The walls of Jericho fell in 7 days. Not 8, not 10, 7. God's timing was precise. Lazarus rose after 4 days in the tomb. Not 5, not 6, 4. Jesus knew exactly when death had to surrender to life. Your 7th day is here. Your resurrection moment is now. Stop looking at your bank account and start looking at your calling. Stop counting your limitations and start counting God's promises. Stop measuring your age and start measuring your anointing. The same God who breathed life into Adam's nostrils is breathing purpose into your spirit right now. You feel it, don't you? That stirring that won't let you sleep, that restlessness that won't let you settle. That's not discontent, that's divine appointment knocking on the door of your heart. And every second you hesitate, every moment you delay, you're telling the Creator of the universe to wait while you make up your mind. This isn't about tomorrow's plans, this is about today's obedience. This isn't about next year's resolutions, this is about this hour's response. The opportunities God is aligning for you won't wait for your convenience. The doors He's opening won't stay open for your comfort. Don't wait another year, another month, another day. God says, move now. That dream you buried under decades of what-ifs. Dig it up. That calling you've been ignoring because it seems too big, too impossible, too late. Pick up the phone. Heaven is calling. That step of faith you've been avoiding because you might fail, take it because the only real failure is refusing to try. The devil wants you to think you have time. He wants you to believe there's always tomorrow. But what if there isn't? What if this moment, this sacred intersection of your faith and God's faithfulness, is the last invitation you'll receive? If this word is pounding in your chest like a divine drumbeat, If something inside you is screaming yes while your mind is whispering no, then declare it. No more delay. Write today's date in your notes. Not as a reminder, as a memorial. The day heaven marked you. The day you stopped making excuses and started making history. But the question that will haunt you forever if you don't answer it right now is this. What happens when a chosen one finally stops choosing fear and starts choosing faith? Listen to me, dear chosen one. I know you're sitting there wondering if your best days are truly behind you. I know you've stared at those prescription bottles lined up on your kitchen counter, wondering if this is all their island. I know you've watched your children scatter across the country, leaving you with photo albums full of memories and a phone that rarely rings. But what if I told you that everything you think you know about your season is wrong? You see, the enemy has been whispering the same lie to seniors across America for decades. He tells you that 65 is the beginning of decline, that 70 means irrelevance, that 80 is just waiting for heaven. But God's mathematics don't work like the world's calculator. Listen to what the Almighty declares in Isaiah 46:4. Even to your old age and grey hairs, I am He who will sustain you, not tolerate you, not endure you, sustain you. That word means to carry the full weight, to support completely, to make flourish. Right now, as I speak these words, God is breathing new life into your tired bones. That arthritis that's been your companion for 20 years, God is sending divine strength coursing through your joints. That heart condition the doctors keep monitoring, the great physician is regulating every beat with supernatural precision. But here's where it gets supernatural, beloved. Your health isn't just being maintained, it's being renewed. Psalm 103:5 promises that He satisfies your desires with good things so that your youth is renewed like the eagle's. The eagle doesn't just age gracefully, it molts completely, shedding old feathers for new ones, emerging stronger than before. You thought those sleepless nights were just part of getting older, but God was using those midnight hours to download dreams into your spirit. You thought that restlessness was just age catching up, but heaven calls it anticipation for what's coming. Your finances. Let's talk about that weight you carry every first of the month. That social security check that disappears faster than morning mist. That retirement account that keeps shrinking no matter how careful you are. God sees every anxious calculation you make at your kitchen table. But Isaiah 43:19 declares, See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Your financial wilderness is about to bloom with streams of provision you never imagined. Think about this. You've been faithful with little for decades. You've tithed when it hurt. You've given when you barely had enough. God has been taking notes. And compound interest in His kingdom doesn't just add up, it multiplies exponentially. That unexpected check in the mail, that insurance settlement you thought would never come, that investment you forgot about suddenly maturing. God is orchestrating a symphony of provision, and every instrument is tuning up for your breakthrough. But the deepest wound in your heart isn't your body or your bank account, is it? It's that empty chair at Thanksgiving dinner. It's the silence from children who used to call every week. It's grandchildren who know your face from photographs but barely know your voice. You lie awake wondering what you did wrong. You replay conversations from years ago, searching for the moment everything changed. You question whether you were too strict, too lenient, too involved, too distant. Stop torturing yourself with those what-ifs. God is writing a different story. Psalm 68:6 says, God sets the lonely in families. He's not just restoring your biological family, He's expanding it. Those prodigal children who broke your heart, they're about to remember the foundation you laid in their lives. Right now, across this nation, adult children are feeling an unexplainable pull to call their parents. Grandchildren are asking questions about faith that their parents can't answer. The seeds you planted in family devotions 30 years ago are finally breaking through the soil. But here's the mystery that will astound you. God isn't just bringing your family back to you, He's bringing you into his family in ways you've never experienced. Those church friends who've become like siblings, that neighbor who checks on you every Tuesday, that young family at the grocery store who always smiles and waves. God is weaving a tapestry of relationship around you that's stronger than blood. You know what your struggle has been all these years. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't abandonment. It was preparation. Every tear you cried in secret was watering the ground for this harvest. Every night you couldn't sleep was a prayer vigil you didn't even know you were keeping. Your struggle wasn't a tomb, it was a womb. And today, you're giving birth to a new season. Picture this with me. Psalm 23:5 paints the image. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Not a small table, not a modest meal. A banquet table stretching as far as the eye can see, groaning under the weight of abundance. Your enemies, loneliness, sickness, poverty, family dysfunction, they're about to watch God spread a feast in your honor. They thought they had defeated you. They thought age had diminished you. But God is about to demonstrate that his power isn't limited by your birth date. The overflow is coming, chosen one. Like a dam that's been holding back a mighty river for decades, what's been restrained in your life is about to burst forth with such force that you'll hardly recognize your own existence. But here's the question that will determine everything. Are you ready to receive what God has been preparing, or will you let doubt convince you that you're too old for miracles? You want to know why your life has been harder than everyone else's, why you've carried burdens that would crush ordinary people, why depression follows you like a shadow, why loneliness sits in your chest like a stone, why anxiety whispers lies at 3 a.m. when the whole world sleeps. Let me pull back the curtain on something that will shatter everything you thought you knew about your struggles. The enemy didn't attack you because of your past. He attacked you because of your future. Every sleepless night you've endured, every family member who turned their back on you, every financial blow that left you gasping for air, none of it was random. It was strategic warfare against someone hell recognized as dangerous before you even knew who you were. Think about it. Why would the forces of darkness waste their best ammunition on someone insignificant? Why would Satan deploy his most vicious demons against someone who poses no threat to his kingdom? Because, dear chosen one, he saw what God placed inside you before you took your first breath. Listen to what Jesus himself declared in Luke 10:18. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. The enemy knows his time is short. He knows his defeat is certain. But there's one thing that terrifies him more than his own judgment. It's when God's chosen ones finally wake up to who they really are. You've been living in a war zone, haven't you? That depression that visits you every November like clockwork. That crushing sense of failure when your adult children stopped calling. That panic that grips your chest when you open another medical bill. That voice that whispers, you're too old, too late, too broken, every time you dare to dream. Those aren't coincidences. Those are targeted strikes. The enemy has been playing chess with your life, moving pieces across the board to keep you isolated, discouraged, defeated. He orchestrated that betrayal from your business partner 30 years ago. He whispered in your spouse's ear during those fights that nearly destroyed your marriage. He planted seeds of doubt in your children's minds until they saw you as a burden instead of a blessing. But here's what hell never counted on. Here's the secret that makes demons tremble in the darkest corners of the abyss. God was playing a bigger game all along. Every move the enemy made against you, the Almighty turned into preparation. Every attack became training. Every wound became wisdom. You weren't being destroyed, you were being forged in the furnace of adversity until you became unbreakable. Job understood this mystery when he declared in Job 23:10, "But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I will come forth as gold." The testing wasn't punishment, it was purification. Remember that storm that nearly sank your life 15 years ago? When everything fell apart at once, your health, your finances, your relationships. You thought you were drowning, but something held you steady, didn't it? Something deeper than your circumstances kept you from going under. That was your anchor, chosen one. That was the hand of God himself gripping your soul when the waves tried to tear you apart. The winds of opposition howled around you. The lightning of betrayal struck again and again. But the anchor held. Your loneliness wasn't abandonment. It was preparation for intimacy with the divine. Your financial struggles weren't curse. They were training in supernatural provision. Your family's rejection wasn't evidence of your failure. It was proof that you carry something they can't understand. Hell marked you because heaven crowned you. Do you see it now? Those sleepless nights when you wrestled with God like Jacob at Peniel. You weren't losing your mind, you were receiving divine downloads. Those moments of crushing despair when you wanted to give up. You weren't weak, you were being emptied, so God could fill you with his strength. The enemy has been trying to convince you that your struggles disqualify you. But Ephesians 6:12 reveals the truth. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this age. You haven't been fighting random difficulties. You've been engaged in cosmic warfare because you carry something that threatens the very foundations of hell's kingdom. Your wounds aren't shame, they're your credentials. Your scars aren't weakness, they're your qualifications. Every battle you've survived is proof that you were built for something the average person couldn't handle. The fact that you're still here, still breathing, still believing after everything you've endured, that's not luck. That's supernatural preservation. God has been guarding you like a treasure because he knows what he's invested in you. If you feel this word exposing the truth of your life right now, if recognition is flooding your spirit like dawn breaking over a battlefield, type the anchor holds. Let heaven know you're finally seeing the invisible war that's been raging around you. But understanding the war is only the beginning, because what I'm about to reveal next will show you why God allowed you to be tested so severely and what he's been preparing you for in the secret chambers of your suffering. You've felt it your entire life, haven't you? That strange sensation of being different, not better than others different. Like you were cut from a different cloth, forged in a different fire, marked by an invisible hand that set you apart before you even understood what apart meant. They called you too sensitive as a child, too intense as a young adult, too serious, too deep, too much. But what if I told you that what they called your weakness was actually heaven's signature on your soul? Listen to me carefully, dear one. You didn't survive 70, 80, 90 years of life by accident. You didn't weather the storms that would have broken lesser spirits through luck. You didn't endure betrayals, financial ruin, health scares, and heartbreak that should have destroyed you because you're stubborn. You survived because you're marked. 1 Peter 2-9 declares with thunderous authority, "You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's special possession." But that word chosen in the original Greek means selected for a purpose. You weren't randomly picked. You were strategically chosen, divinely marked, spiritually tattooed by the Almighty himself. Your survival is your signature. If you're still here, still breathing, still believing when others have given up, that's not coincidence. That's evidence of the mark. Think about this. How many nights have you lain awake feeling like you don't belong anywhere? How many times have you walked into a room full of people and felt utterly alone? How many conversations have you had where you smiled and nodded while inside you were screaming, "Doesn't anyone else see what I see? Doesn't anyone else feel what I feel?" That loneliness wasn't punishment, chosen one. That was the mark burning within you, recognizing that this world was never meant to satisfy you because you carry eternity in your heart. The enemy has been trying to convince you for decades that your sensitivity is a curse, that your ability to feel deeper, see clearer, discern spiritual atmospheres is somehow wrong. He's whispered that you're broken, damaged, too emotional, too spiritual, too different. But what if your difference was never a defect? What if it was design? Picture a candle flickering in a hurricane. The winds howl, the rain pounds, the darkness presses in from every side. Logic says that flame should have died long ago, but it doesn't. It bends, it wavers, but it never goes out. That's you. That's the mark you carry. The storms of life have raged against you: divorce, death, disease, disappointment. Hell itself has thrown everything it has at your flame, but you're still burning. You're still here. You're still believing. That's not human resilience, dear one. That's divine DNA. You want to know what marks the chosen? It's not perfection. It's persistence. It's not the absence of pain. It's the presence of purpose that burns brighter than the pain. It's not immunity from trials. It's the supernatural ability to transform trials into testimonies. You've noticed it, haven't you? How animals are drawn to you. How children gravitate toward your presence. How strangers pour out their deepest secrets to you in grocery store lines. That's not charm, chosen one. That's the mark of God radiating through your being like a spiritual magnet. But here's what will shock you to your core. The very things that made you feel like an outsider all these years are the exact qualities that make you invaluable to God's kingdom. Your ability to feel what others miss. Your capacity to see beyond the surface. Your refusal to accept shallow answers to deep questions. The world wanted you to fit in. God wanted you to stand out. You carry the tattoo of heaven, invisible to human eyes but undeniable to spiritual forces. When demons look at you, they don't see an elderly person past their prime. They see a walking weapon of warfare. When angels surround you, they don't see someone forgotten by time. They see a seasoned warrior marked for divine assignment. This mark has been with you since birth. It's why you've always been drawn to the things of God. It's why you could never find satisfaction in the temporary pleasures that seem to fulfill others. It's why you've maintained your faith through seasons that would have shipwrecked weaker souls. But the enemy has been working overtime to make you ashamed of this mark. He's tried to convince you that your spiritual sensitivity is mental illness, that your prophetic discernment is paranoia, that your holy fire is just religious fanaticism. Stop believing his lies. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says God has placed eternity in the human heart. But not every heart carries that weight the same way. Some hearts carry just enough eternity to get them through this life. But you carry so much eternity that this life can barely contain you. That restlessness you've felt, that's not dissatisfaction. That's homesickness for a realm you've never seen but your spirit remembers. That longing for something more, that's not ingratitude. That's the mark of eternity, calling you home to your true identity. You've been marked for 3 purposes: to intercede for those who cannot pray for themselves, to discern spiritual atmospheres that others cannot perceive, and to carry hope into hopeless situations, because you've learned that God's light shines brightest in the deepest darkness. Every tear you've cried in secret has been stored in heaven's bottles. Every prayer you've whispered in desperation has been recorded in eternal archives. Every moment you've felt invisible has been seen by the one who marks his own with unbreakable love. The question that will determine your destiny is this: will you finally embrace the mark you've been carrying, or will you continue to apologize for being exactly who God created you to be? Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you not just that you're marked, but why you've been hidden until now, and what happens when God's marked ones finally step into the light. Listen to me, dear chosen one. I know you're sitting there right now, carrying weight that feels heavier with each passing year. Maybe you're 67 and wondering if God forgot about the dreams you carried at 27. Maybe you're 74 and asking yourself why the blessings everyone else seems to receive keep passing you by. Maybe you're 82 and whispering to an empty house, "Lord, did I waste my life?" Stop, right there. Stop believing that lie. What you've been calling your greatest defeat is about to become your greatest victory. What the enemy meant for evil, God is turning for good. Genesis 50:20 declares it with absolute authority. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. You see, beloved, there's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about God's timing. He operates like a pendulum. The same weight that swung against you for decades, every financial struggle, every health scare, every door that slammed shut, that same weight is now swinging back in your favor with supernatural force. Think about Job, 87 years old when everything was stripped away. His children, his wealth, his health gone. His own wife told him to curse God and die. For months, he sat in ashes, scraping his boils with broken pottery, wondering why the God he served faithfully had abandoned him. But God wasn't abandoning Job. He was positioning him for the greatest comeback in human history. When God restored Job, he didn't just give him back what he'd lost. Job 42:10 tells us, "The Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before." Twice as much. At nearly 90 years old, Job entered the wealthiest season of his entire life. His latter days weren't his twilight, they were his triumph. You think your chapter is ending? Your greatest chapter is just beginning. But let me ask you something that might cut deep into your soul. How many more nights are you going to lie awake, accepting less than what God promised? How many more mornings are you going to wake up and say, maybe tomorrow? How many more years are you going to let the enemy convince you that your season of favor has passed? Because I'm here to tell you that pendulum has reached the end of its swing. The momentum that carried your pain is now carrying your provision. The force that drove your failure is now driving your victory. What was held back is about to rush through like a dam bursting after decades of pressure. Consider Joseph. One day he's rotting in an Egyptian prison, forgotten by the very people he'd helped, 30 years old, and feeling like his dreams had turned into nightmares. But Genesis 41:14 records the moment everything changed. So Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and he was quickly brought from the dungeon, quickly brought. Not gradually promoted, not slowly elevated, quickly brought from the pit to the palace in a single day. That's your story today, chosen one. The dungeon doors are creaking open. The very setbacks that seemed to bury you were actually positioning you. Every rejection was redirection. Every closed door was protection. Every delay was divine strategy. And Lazarus, oh dear friend, let's talk about Lazarus. 4 days dead, 4 days of stench, 4 days of everyone saying it's too late. Mary and Martha had given up hope. The mourners had already started the funeral. But Jesus stood at that tomb and spoke 2 words that shattered death itself. Come forth. Right now, whatever has been dead in your life, your dreams, your health, your finances, your joy, God is standing at your tomb saying, come forth, not next year, not when you're ready. Right now, here's what the medical world won't tell you. Your age isn't your limitation, it's your advantage. Moses received his greatest assignment at 80. Abraham became a father at 100. Anna, the prophetess, recognized the Messiah at 84. Your social security number doesn't determine your spiritual authority. Your Medicare card doesn't define your miracle capacity. Isaiah 46:4 promises, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am he who will sustain you. I have made you, and I will carry you. I will sustain you, and I will rescue you. Gray hairs aren't signs of decline, they're crowns of wisdom. Your wrinkles aren't marks of deterioration, they're evidence of endurance. The enemy thought he had you defeated. He thought your age would make you irrelevant. He thought your struggles would make you surrender. But what he didn't count on was this: God saves his best wine for last. Your latter chapters will carry the weight of glory greater than your early ones. Picture a dam that's been holding back millions of gallons of water for 50 years. The pressure builds, the weight increases, and then, in one moment, the dam breaks. What was contained for decades explodes forth with unstoppable power. That's your life right now. The pressure you've endured, the weight you've carried, the containment you've felt, it was all building toward this moment of explosive breakthrough. Habakkuk 2:3 declares, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Your appointed time isn't coming, it's here. The reversal isn't a future promise, it's a present reality. While you've been asking God when, He's been orchestrating how. While you've been wondering if, He's been arranging where. While you've been questioning whether, He's been positioning who. Your turnaround doesn't depend on the stock market. It doesn't require a political victory. It doesn't need a medical breakthrough. Your reversal is a God-initiated, heaven-orchestrated, divinely timed intervention that's happening right now in the spiritual realm and manifesting right now in your natural circumstances. If you believe your turnaround is near, if you can feel that pendulum swinging back toward favor, if something deep in your spirit is saying, "This is my moment," then shout it in the comments. This is my reversal. Let heaven hear your declaration. Let the angels take notice. Let hell tremble because another chosen one just recognized their season. But knowing your reversal is here is only the beginning. Because God isn't just changing your circumstances, He's preparing to use you as the instrument of reversal for an entire generation. Are you ready to discover why your breakthrough matters beyond your own blessing? Chosen one, I need you to understand something that will shake you to your very core. Time isn't just passing anymore, it's running out. And what I'm about to reveal to you carries the weight of eternity itself. Do you remember Joshua standing before the walls of Jericho? Massive stone barriers that had stood for generations, mocking every attempt to breach them. For 6 days, Joshua's army marched in silence around those walls. 6 days of walking the same path, seeing the same impossibilities, hearing the same doubts whispered in the ranks. Nothing's changing. Maybe God forgot. Maybe we're just walking in circles. But Joshua knew something they didn't. God's timing operates on divine mathematics. 7 days, always 7. In Genesis, God created the world in 6 days and rested on the 7th. Not because He was tired, but because 7 represents completion, divine perfection. The moment when heaven's plan reaches its crescendo. Right now, as you sit there listening to my voice, your personal Jericho countdown has begun. Those walls that have mocked you for years, financial struggle, broken relationships, that diagnosis the doctors said was permanent, that dream they said was impossible, at your age they're trembling. Can you feel it? Your 7-day window opened the moment this message found you. Think about it. How many decades have you been circling your Jericho? How many years have you been staring at the same obstacles, feeling like nothing ever changes? That medical bill that keeps growing, that loneliness that follows you even in a crowded room, that mirror that reflects back 70, 80, 90 years of wondering if you somehow missed God's plan for your life. You've been marching in silence for too long, but God is saying your silence ends now. Here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand about this 7-day principle. It's not just a historical pattern, it's a prophetic template. Every major breakthrough in Scripture followed this same divine rhythm. Noah's family was sealed in the ark for 7 days before the flood came. Elijah's servant looked 7 times before he saw the rain cloud. The walls of Jericho fell on the 7th day. And you, precious child of the Most High, you are living in your 7th day right now. But here's where it gets personal. Here's where this truth cuts through every excuse you've been carrying. On that 7th day at Jericho, the Israelites didn't just march, they shouted. They opened their mouths and released the sound of faith into the atmosphere. And the Bible says those walls didn't just fall, they collapsed completely, flattened, obliterated. What wall has been mocking you? What impossibility has been whispering that you're too old, too broken, too late? That wall is about to meet the sound of your voice, aligned with heaven's decree. Can you hear it? That's not your imagination. That's the sound of spiritual dynamite being placed at the foundation of every limitation that has held you captive. Your breakthrough isn't coming in months or years. It's measured in days now. This is your appointed hour, not tomorrow's hour, not next week's convenient moment. Right now, while my voice is still echoing in your ears, while the fire of God's word is still burning in your chest, while the windows of heaven are still cranked open over your life, listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this might be the most important 7 minutes of your entire existence. Time in God's kingdom doesn't tick like the world's clock. When heaven says now, it means now. When the Almighty declares this is your moment, delay becomes disobedience. You've been waiting for the perfect moment, the right circumstances, for everything to line up just right. But God is saying the lineup is complete. The players are in position. The countdown has begun. Mark this day. Write down today's date and these 3 words: no more delay. Let that declaration be sealed in the courts of heaven as your official notice that the season of circling is over and the season of conquering has begun. Your shout is what brings the walls down, not your perfection, not your age, not your past. Your willingness to open your mouth and declare what God has already decreed over your life. The clock is striking midnight on your old season. Every wall that has held you back is beginning to crack. Every door that has remained locked is starting to turn. Every dream that seemed dead is stirring with resurrection life. But the question that will determine whether you experience this breakthrough or watch it pass you by is simple. Will you shout? Listen to me, dear chosen one. Stop for just a moment and picture this. Your granddaughter, 25 years from now, standing at her own crossroads. The bills are piling up. The marriage is cracking. The doctor just delivered news that shattered her world. And in that desperate hour, she falls to her knees and cries out to the same God you've been praying to for 70 years. But here's what will shock you to your core. Your prayers from decades ago are what catch her when she falls. You think those tears you cried over your prodigal son were wasted. You think those midnight intercessions for your daughter's salvation fell on deaf ears. You think those desperate pleas for your family's breakthrough disappeared into empty air. You couldn't be more wrong. This breakthrough coming to your life, it's not just about you finally getting what you deserve. This is about generational shift. This is about spiritual inheritance. This is about God using your faithfulness to rewrite the DNA of your entire family tree. Think about Abraham, 75 years old when God called him to leave everything familiar, 99 when God promised him a son, 100 when Isaac was finally born. Abraham never saw the millions of descendants God promised. He never witnessed the nation of Israel. He never saw Jesus walking the earth. But every step of obedience, every act of faith, every sacrifice he made was planting seeds for a harvest he would never personally reap. Genesis 22:18 declares, "Through your offspring all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." Abraham's obedience didn't just change his life, it transformed the trajectory of human history. That's you right now. Your breakthrough isn't just personal, it's prophetic. But here's where this gets deeply personal, and I need you to feel this in your bones. How many nights have you lain awake, praying for your children who've walked away from God? How many tears have you shed over grandchildren who don't even know your Jesus? How many times have you whispered, "God, will I die before I see my family saved?" Those prayers weren't desperate cries into the void. They were prophetic declarations over your bloodline. Every tear was liquid prophecy. Every sleepless night was intercession that moved the hand of heaven. Your children think they're making their own choices. Your grandchildren believe they're writing their own stories. But what they don't see is that your prayers have been going before them like advanced troops, preparing the way, softening hearts, breaking down strongholds. You're not just passing down heirlooms and houses. You're passing fire, not ashes. You're not leaving behind material inheritance. You're leaving behind spiritual authority that will echo through generations you'll never meet. Deuteronomy 7-9 promises, "The Lord your God keeps his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments." 1,000 generations. Your faithfulness today is touching the lives of children who won't be born for 800 years. But the enemy wants you to believe your time is over. He whispers that your influence has expired, that your wisdom is outdated, that your prayers don't carry the weight they used to. That's a lie straight from hell designed to make you quit right before your harvest comes in. Your scars aren't signs of weakness, they're credentials. Your wrinkles aren't marks of decline, they're etchings of wisdom. Your slower pace isn't limitation. It's the measured walk of someone who knows where they're going. Picture a mighty oak tree, 200 years old, roots buried so deep they touch underground streams you can't see. When storms come, younger trees snap and fall. But that oak? It doesn't just survive, it provides shelter for an entire forest. Your roots go deep, chosen one, so your family can stand tall when their storms come. You're not just grandpa or grandma sitting in the corner, you're the patriarch, you're the matriarch, you're the spiritual general of your household. And right now, heaven is downloading battle plans into your spirit for wars your descendants will face decades from now. Think about this. Your grandson is going to face temptations you can't even imagine. Your great-granddaughter will encounter spiritual attacks that haven't been invented yet. But the prayers you're praying today, the faith you're walking in right now, the breakthrough you're about to receive, it's all creating a spiritual canopy of protection over them. When they call on the name of Jesus in their darkest hour, they'll be borrowing from the spiritual account you're building right now through your faithfulness. This isn't just about you finally getting your miracle. This is about you becoming the turning point in your family's spiritual history, the generation where poverty stops, where addiction breaks, where mental illness loses its grip, where the curse reverses and blessing begins to flow like a river. If you're praying for your family's salvation right now, if there's a son, a daughter, a grandchild whose name keeps you awake at night, type their initials in the comments as a prophetic act. Release their names into this atmosphere of faith. Let your breakthrough become the key that unlocks their breakthrough. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. Time is running out. Not your time, the enemy's time. He knows that when your breakthrough comes, it's going to trigger a domino effect through your entire bloodline. He's terrified of what happens when a praying saint finally sees their prayers answered. So the question burning in heaven right now is this: will you see your struggles as investments in generations, or will you let discouragement rob your family of their inheritance? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. There's something the enemy doesn't want you to know about this season of your life. While he's been whispering lies about your expiration date, God has been preparing the greatest outpouring you've ever witnessed. You see, there's a reason you've felt so empty lately, a reason why every blessing seems to come with a struggle attached, a reason why you've been scraping by when you should be soaring. The enemy has been stealing from you, hasn't he? Your joy, your peace, your provision. He's been running a con game on your inheritance for decades. But God just whispered something to my spirit that's going to shatter every limitation you've accepted. Remember Elisha, 2 Kings chapter 2. As Elijah was about to be taken up in that whirlwind of fire, he turned to his spiritual son and asked, "What can I do for you before I'm taken away?" Now, Elisha could have asked for anything: money, power, recognition. But what did he say? "Let me inherit a double portion of your spirit." Double portion, not just what Elijah had, not just enough to get by. Double, twice the anointing, twice the power, twice the blessing. And you know what happened? God honored that bold request. The mantle fell, and Elisha performed twice as many miracles as his mentor ever did. But here's what's going to rock your world tonight. That same spirit of double portion is hovering over your life right now. Not because you earned it, not because you're perfect, but because God sees what you've been through, and He's about to compensate you for every tear you've cried in secret. The years the locust has eaten, do you know what that means? Joel chapter 2 verse 25 declares, "I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten." That diagnosis that stole your health, those relationships that betrayed your trust, that business that failed when you needed it most, those dreams that died before they could breathe. God calls them locust years. But restoration isn't just getting back what you lost. It's getting back more than you lost. It's divine mathematics that doesn't make sense to the natural mind. When Job lost everything, God didn't just restore his wealth. He doubled it. Twice the livestock, twice the riches, twice the blessing. Your locust years are about to become your abundance years. Picture this with me. You're standing in a field that's been scorched by drought. The earth is cracked. The soil is hard. For miles in every direction, Nothing but barren ground. That's been your life, hasn't it? Dry places where nothing seems to grow, dreams planted but never blooming, prayers watered with tears but still no harvest. But do you hear that? That rumbling in the distance? Those aren't storm clouds of judgment. Those are rain clouds of restoration. The drought is breaking. The heavens are about to open over your life with such intensity that the dry fields of your heart will bloom like Eden itself. Not a trickle, not a drop, but an overflow. Your cup has been empty for too long. You've been drinking from puddles when God intended rivers. You've been surviving on scraps when He prepared a feast. But Psalm 23, verse 5 declares, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows." Overflows, not just full, not just enough, overflowing to the point where you can't contain it all. Where blessing spills over onto your children, where abundance flows to your grandchildren, where provision pours out to everyone connected to your bloodline. This is your season of more faith when doubt has dominated, more peace when anxiety has ruled, more provision when lack has been your master. The enemy thought he had you cornered in that valley of barely enough, but God has been preparing you for the mountaintop of more than enough. But I need you to understand something that will determine whether you receive this double portion or watch it pass you by. You have to ask for it. You have to speak it. You have to declare it over your life with the same boldness that Elisha demonstrated. Stop praying small prayers. Stop asking God for just enough to get by. Stop settling for survival when He's offering abundance. The God who spoke galaxies into existence is not intimidated by your big requests. Right now, wherever you are, I need you to do something that might feel uncomfortable, but is absolutely necessary. Open your mouth and say these words out loud. I receive the double portion. Say it again, louder this time. I receive the double portion. Don't you dare sit there in silence. Your voice carries authority in the spiritual realm. When you speak God's promises over your life, heaven mobilizes to make them reality. Angels are dispatched, circumstances shift, doors swing open that have been locked for decades. The enemy has had you convinced that your golden years would be struggle years, that retirement meant decline, that your sunset season would be characterized by limitation and loss. But God is rewriting that narrative tonight. Your best days aren't behind you. They're breaking forth like the dawn. This double portion isn't just about money, though financial blessing is coming. It's not just about health, though divine healing is flowing. It's about supernatural acceleration in every area of your life where the enemy has caused delay. But here's the urgency that should grip your heart right now. This window of divine opportunity won't stay open forever. There are seasons in God's timing when heaven releases what has been held back. This is your Kairos moment, your appointed time, your season of suddenly. The question that will echo through eternity is this: when God offers you the double portion, will you have the faith to receive it? Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred encounter together, I need you to carry 3 eternal truths with you as you step back into your world. First, remember this: you are not 100% human. You carry within you the very breath of the Almighty, the DNA of divinity itself. That restlessness you felt, that sense of being different, that knowing that you were meant for more, that's not your imagination. That's heaven's fingerprint on your soul, reminding you that your citizenship is in eternity. Second, your season of double portion has begun. The years the locust has eaten are being restored with interest. What the enemy stole in your youth, God is returning in your golden years with supernatural multiplication. Your dry fields are about to bloom, your empty cup is about to overflow, and your weary heart is about to experience joy unspeakable. Third, God says this cannot wait because your time is now. Not tomorrow when you feel more ready, not next year when circumstances align. Right now, in this very moment, heaven is moving on your behalf. The divine appointment you've been praying for is happening as these words wash over your spirit. But beloved, I need you to know something deeper than knowledge. something that settles in your bones like unshakable peace. You are not walking this journey alone. The same God who parted the Red Sea is parting every obstacle in your path. The same God who multiplied loaves and fishes is multiplying every seed of faith you've planted. The same God who raised Jesus from the dead is breathing new life into every dream you thought had died. And right here, in this sacred community we've built together, you have thousands of brothers and sisters who understand your struggle, who share your calling, who are ready to stand with you in prayer. We're not just viewers on a screen, we're a family, united by divine purpose, connected by the threads of eternity itself. Let me ask you this final question, and let it echo in the chambers of your heart. If God has brought you this far through every valley, every storm, every season that tried to break you, why would He abandon you now at the threshold of your greatest breakthrough? Before I release you into your destiny, let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of someone who has seen God move mountains. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them, not just their struggles but their strength, not just their pain but their potential, not just their past but their purpose. Tonight, breathe fresh wind into their weary souls. Where they feel forgotten, remind them they are engraved on your palms. Where they feel finished, show them they are just beginning. Where they feel ordinary, reveal that they are extraordinary in your eyes. God, open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send divine connections that will accelerate their destiny. Give them dreams and visions that clarify their next steps. Surround them with people who see their value and will walk alongside them without trying to dim their light. Father, heal their bodies where sickness has tried to claim territory. Restore their finances where lack has built strongholds. Mend their relationships where division has caused pain. Above all, let them feel your presence so powerfully right now that doubt has no place to land in their hearts. Let them wake up tomorrow knowing beyond any shadow of doubt that they are loved, they are chosen, they are equipped, and they are never alone. Use their story every chapter, even the painful ones, to set captives free and point others to your goodness. In Jesus' mighty name, the name above all names, I seal this prayer and release them into the double portion you have prepared. Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share how God spoke to your heart tonight. What shifted in your spirit? What are you believing Him for in this season? Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if you need prayer for specific areas of your life, ask this community to stand with you. We will surround you with intercession, because that's what family does. If this message touched your soul, if you felt heaven lean in close tonight, please share this video with someone who needs to remember they are chosen too. There's someone in your life right now who's feeling exactly like you felt when you first clicked on this message. Be the vessel that carries this hope to them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the sacred chambers of your soul. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because this is just the beginning. God has so much more He wants to pour into your life, and I want to be here when He does. Until we meet again, walk in the authority of who you are. You are chosen, you are loved, you are never alone. Your double portion is here, and nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop what God has put in motion for your life. Go in peace, go in power, go in the unshakable knowledge that your best days are not behind you, they are breaking forth like the dawn.